What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode number 18 of the Weekend Review. My name is Sean, and I am far less sunburned, your far less sunburned host of the week. On this week's show, film makes a triumphant return in the form of Deadpool and Deadpool 2. We'll talk briefly about 3 games, unbox a limited edition controller, and bid a fond farewell to a friend of the show. We'll start with the movies this week. They're making their triumphant return after several weeks away from this particular show for whatever reason. I actually thought I would go see more movies over the last couple weeks, and instead I have seen fewer. But we'll start with Deadpool number 1. Came out in 2016, a couple years ago, and it still holds up. Like, I know that's kind of a weird thing to say, like, oh, it's a movie, it's only 2 years old, it's not going to be that outdated. This movie's still funny and still interesting and still very good. After multiple viewings, a lot of the jokes still land. It still feels fresh and different, and that's one of the things that really sticks out with this particular movie and the sequel, which we'll talk about here in just a minute. Ryan Reynolds totally nails what I think of when I think of Deadpool. I don't have a terribly large comic knowledge as far as Deadpool is concerned. I know more about the X-Men stuff, and he technically is affiliated with the X-Men, which is why those movies are released under 20th Century Fox, blah 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 blah. It's a movie that excels so well on its tone, and it does something so different and so interesting and so fresh. It's the same reason that Logan excels as well. Deadpool is goofy and gory and light and fun for the most part, and Logan is dark and like starts in a bad place and somehow manages to just get worse for 2 hours and is like brutally violent and has a story that feels like it kind of more earns its R rating. Deadpool is just like, oh hey, look, I can say fuck. Ooh, look at me, big fancy Deadpool. But Ryan Reynolds, and I think that speaks to how well he does in this movie, like, he makes it work. He makes this character tolerable and interesting and funny, and I don't know, it's a movie that works. It's a movie that when I watched it, I was more excited for the sequel. Like, I got done with it, and I was like, you know, I really could go for another one of these. I would be more than happy to sit through, that sounds like a chore, but I'd be happy to go out and go see a second Deadpool. And obviously it released last Friday. And it's a fun movie. Colossus and Negasonic Teenage Warhead are both fantastic characters. Colossus is obviously a more well-known X-Man. I didn't know who Negasonic Teenage Warhead was. I have no idea. Again, that kind of goes back to my lack of Deadpool knowledge. I didn't know. And Dopinder, the cab driver, steals every scene he's in. He's the second best character in the movie behind Deadpool. Deadpool's roommate, who I'm totally blanking on the name of, is the third best character, for those curious at home. Deadpool number 1, Dopinder, roommate, top 3. Oh, and his girlfriend. Shoot, I guess she'd be 4. She's really great though. It's a movie that just has really great characters, except for the villains, because they're terrible. Villains, in air quotes, are terrible. Absolutely fucking atrociously terrible. They suck. They're the worst comic book villains I've ever seen. They're the worst. They're the worst. Overall, I think this is a very good movie that borders on great if they just fixed the villain problem. Fixed a villain problem, you say? Enter... What's that you said? You need to fix a villain problem? Well, enter Deadpool 2. I think this is a pretty much start to finish far superior movie than the first. I think the cast of characters is better. I think the situations are more interesting. It has better, more over-the-top humor, more grounded, higher emotional stakes that really worked for me, and shows what I think is super interesting is watching someone use humor to deter something terrible that's going on in their lives. And I like the way that kind of juxtaposes itself as, like, you know, he's, how do I want to tiptoe around this without spoiling too much, but he's going through something terrible, but he's still the same kind of quippy guy. You see that in the first movie when he's, you know, he learns about the cancer and he's still trying to make jokes about it and still trying to stay light with it. But like, this is like it's a different level of stakes, a different level of emotional problems. And I think it shows how good Ryan Reynolds is with this particular character. I know I mentioned it when I was talking about the first movie just a moment ago, but man, he crushes it again. It's I don't know, it's so good. And I think where this movie starts its goodness or greatness. Even I think this is start to finish a great movie, even with a couple minor missteps, which we'll get into in a minute. I think where it starts is in the marketing, which is kind of like a weird way to say it. If you look at the first Deadpool and the way they marketed it, they spoiled the entire freeway chase sequence, which is almost the crux of the movie. A lot of that first movie takes place on that overpass as it cuts back and forth between his origin story and where he is now, as he kind of catches you up and gets you up to speed on what's going on. This movie did a good job up until the last couple of trailers, which I shouldn't have watched, but I did, so that's on me. It did a great job of selling a tone. It started with that Bob Ross trailer, which was really funny. Shout out to Twitch for making Bob Ross insanely popular again. And I mean, he's not like insanely is a relative term in this particular scenario. That being said, that trailer is fantastic. Does a good job of setting a tone, like I said. Does an even better job of withholding information. Gives you little clips, gives you little splash images here and there of things that could be coming, teases, all that sort of good stuff. It does a great job of setting it up without spoiling too much or without showing too much. It tells you the tone. I mean, obviously you know what you're getting into if you watch the first Deadpool movie. And I think that's kind of where the knock against this movie comes in. This movie feels like if you really enjoyed the first one, you're probably really going to like it. If you did not like the first one, this isn't going to do anything to change your mind. It knows what it is. It really excels at that. It hits the notes it needs to hit. Does a great job with the emotional sequences. It does a great job with the over-the-top humor. Sometimes balancing both. The characters are all great. We get 2 new additions. We get Yukio and we get Domino. Domino is absolutely fantastic. And Yukio, unfortunately, Negasonic Teenage Warhead's girlfriend, unfortunately does not get enough screen time in this particular movie, and that's one of the knocks that we'll get into here in just a minute. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of Cable outside of the movie. I think he works well in this particular movie. He's a man on a mission. He does not care who is in his way. He is a good foil for Deadpool, and he's not only in like a physical kind of combat type, I don't know where I'm going with that, but also in a tonal juxtaposition as well. He is straight line, dead serious. Deadpool, obviously, wacky and crazy, fourth wall breaking, merc with a mouth. Okay, so we're going to actually jump into heavy spoilers for this particular movie. I will have a couple more notes afterwards. I'll put a time link down below so that you know when, and if you're watching the video, I'll just pat my head. I'll get real nice and in the frame, and I'll just pat my head when the spoilers are done. So if you haven't seen the movie, if you want to see the movie, pause it, come back to it, skip ahead, finish the episode, your choice. But this is a very clear, like, spoiler stuff. Because this was stuff that I managed to avoid and not know anything about. And I would like for you to do the same. But I'd also like to dive in a little bit deeper with some of my thought processes, both negative and positive, for this particular movie. So, spoiler warning starts now. Now that we're in spoiler territory, I'm going to talk a little bit more in depth about a specific sequence in this movie that kind of just felt weird to me. It's set up in the trailers as well. They introduce an entire set of characters that's Domino and Peter, Terry Crews' character, who I'm totally blanking on, and they all die. They all die in like a 5-minute window, and it feels like such a waste of not only characters they could use in future movies, but it feels like a waste of talent behind those characters. The sequence, which is a sky falling sequence, a skydiving sequence. That's why I said sky falling, and I was like, that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. There's a better word. Well, skydiving. That's what it is. The skydiving sequence is pretty funny. It's a lot of visual humor, and it's a lot of the over-the-top stuff that I think works really, really well. Unfortunately, what it does is it pushes Negasonic Teenage Warhead, Yukio, and Colossus to the sidelines for a very long time in this particular movie. They show up at the beginning, disappear after Deadpool gets taken to a prison after something goes wrong. And they don't show up until the very end, towards the climax of the movie. There's this big giant chunk just in the middle of the movie where they're just gone. And it sucks because I like all three of those characters. I love the way Colossus interacts with Deadpool. I like Negasonic's interactions as well. She's not very hot on him. But like Yukio seems to really like him and like hits it off pretty well. And like I wanted to see more of that. And I think that speaks to what they've done so well in the first movie, is setting up these characters and their interactions. And it just feels like they dropped the ball on this particular one. Point number 2 here in the spoiler section. How fucking cool is it to see Juggernaut? That's awesome. When they said like, oh, it's next to a giant bowl of foreshadowing and he's the biggest guy here, and I was sitting there, I was racking my brain like, who are they gonna pick? Like, I can't pin who it was, because I don't know. I know that Deadpool, like I said earlier, Deadpool interacts with the X-Men, but I don't know how deep they were going to get into that particular pool of villains. Could have been Sabretooth, could have been, they wouldn't have done Magneto, but Sabretooth, I guess. And I sat there and I was just like racking my brain. I was like, who in the world? Toad's too small. And I couldn't figure it out. But when he finally shows up, ooh. And they did it, and he was super great. But shout out to Juggernaut, who's real big, real tough, real dumb. Point number 3 here in the spoiler zone. I think that there are 2 sequences in this movie that go on like just one round too long, which is kind of a weird way to explain it. Deadpool gets shot in the heart and has like a very extended death sequence that is pretty funny for the most part, but they do it one too many times. Like, they kept showing his face, and he'd sit there like really still. And in my head, when I was sitting in the theater, I was like, just die, just be done. We don't need another round of this, because you can see where it's going. Like, you get the joke. And they do it. I think they did it one too many times. They also do it when they introduce Domino, and her and Deadpool are arguing back and forth about, is luck a superpower? Yes, it is. No, it's not. And that goes back and forth like a bunch of times, and I thought they could have cut 1 or 2 of those back and forths. They could have just cut them down. They aren't huge time uses, and they are still fairly funny. It's just something I would have personally cut down on. Cable's deal that he makes with Deadpool is absolutely great. It is a wonderfully hilarious and emotional moment. It excels in both. The stakes are very, very high for Deadpool, who needs to get his heart in the right place, but the stakes are also high for Cable, who doesn't care. And it does such an amazing job in that one scene of highlighting this amazingly like bizarre and funny scene, but also like letting the weight of the emotional decision kind of, I don't know, just make it more relevant. I don't know. That sequence is really something else. The final point is all kind of wrapped up here in 2-1. So point number 4 here in the spoiler zone. I think that Cable's change of heart doesn't really work. It just didn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, I know why they did it. They need to make an X-Force movie. Deadpool cannot die in this movie. Like, I get that. I understand, like, there are financial implications for this particular thing, but Cable is portrayed as a guy who just doesn't really care. He just wants to complete his mission, save his family. Seems like he just wants to go back and be happy with them, but then he's like, oh, well, I'll rewind time so I can give Deadpool the coin and shoot it, which is in every action movie ever in the history of the universe. Anytime, if you're watching an action movie, this isn't a spoiler well, it is, but anytime they ever put anything in a front pocket on the heart side, it's going to stop the bullet. Just spoiler alert. For any action movie that's ever existed. Spoiler alert. So, there you go. His change of heart was a little bit weird. Even if I don't necessarily agree with, and I don't think the change of heart really makes any sense, it does allow them to have some fun with the post-credit sequence, which I won't really spoil here, but holy fuck does Ryan Reynolds hate that he played Green Lantern. Like, he just must hate that so much. Oh, boy. Okay. That's it. End spoilers. So those are the spoilery thoughts of Deadpool 2. Couple of final quick thoughts. This is a really great movie. It's a vast improvement over the original movie. I think it has great characters, great action sets, a great pace, works well, fantastic emotional beats, great over the top humor and ridiculous situations, which is what I wanted more out of in this particular movie. I think it's great. I think it's all around great. Moving over to the game side, we'll talk about 3 games here pretty quickly. I played Rayman and Rabbids. Nope, that's not right. Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle on the Nintendo Switch. I also played a bunch of Splatoon 2 on the Switch, and I played the Onrush beta on Xbox One. Starting with Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle. This is a game that is exclusive to the Nintendo Switch, as it has Mario, so it'll never be on anything ever. This is a turn-based strategy game that does what Nintendo does so well, which is kind of make that, like, baby's first blank. So, like, Pokemon is a great example of, like, babies or kids first RPG. A bunch of Mario games are like Mario Golf, Mario Tennis, Mario platformers are all, simple to learn, hard to master, does well at catering to both the newcomers, casual audience, and the more hardcore alike. I am not a super big fan of turn-based strategy games or any strategy based game. The other would be like a real-time strategy based game where you have to like build bases and units, and it's kind of really boring. But this does a great job at like introducing those elements in a fun and interesting way. I think it has an actually like kind of a cute and charming story, even if the Rabbids are a little bit annoying. They think of them as like the video game equivalent of like the Minions. They're just these dumb things that make noise and fall down a lot. I played the first world, which consisted of 10 sections, which are mostly just 1 or 2 battle like stage or areas. And I don't know, I really enjoyed myself. I think it does a good job of introducing mechanics that I don't really like in a fun way. I don't know. I'm looking forward to jumping back into this particular game. I think this works really, really well on the go, on the Switch tablet mode. I think one of the strengths of this particular game is the amount of action you can do in one turn. So you can move to a spot, jump off somebody, go through a warp pipe, hide, do all sorts of different. You can do like 3 or 4 things. You can chain together a bunch of different actions into one turn with one particular character, and really effectively use the battlefield. It's really, really nice to be able to just swap out like a Rabbid Peach or a Rabbid Luigi, and be able to customize your team to be effective in the battle. And I think the checkpoints are great. I think this is a very well made, well thought out, polished game that gets me into a genre that I haven't much cared about ever. I mean, it's not like, oh, it brought me back to these magical memories of what real-time strategy games used to be. Like, I don't care about this genre at all, but I'm still having a great time with it, and I think that speaks to how good this particular game is. If you have a Switch, I think you absolutely should pick this game up. It's a lot of fun. I think I picked it up for like $30 or something, which is on sale. This is one of the few Mario games that is routinely on sale because it's not actually a Nintendo game. It's a Ubisoft game. So if you're looking for maybe something kind of new, kind of different, definitely pick this up and give it a shot. I think a $30 price point is a great entry point. They have DLC coming down the line. Donkey Kong is going to be a playable character, which is super awesome. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to hopefully pluck through the rest of the worlds. I'm not sure how many there are, but I'm looking forward to continuing my journey through this particular game. Our second game this week is the Switch exclusive Splatoon 2, which is a sequel to a Wii U exclusive that I never had the chance to play because I didn't own a Wii U. And I'm super, super glad that they brought back Splatoon for a sequel on the Switch. It's really, really awesome. I like this game a lot. It is a bright, fun, super fun, awesome, light-hearted multiplayer game that I think is, again, really well made. very polished. I think it has some issues as far as like player balancing. It likes to put high-ranked players together against low-ranked players, and then the entire map is the wrong color. For those of you who don't know, Splatoon 2 is a multiplayer-only game where you use various types of weaponry to paint the map your team's color with paint. So you use like a roller and you squeegee it all over the floor and you make sure that you get enough coverage to win the map. What is so great about this is if you aren't super adept at third-person or first-person shooters or anything like that, you can just focus on taking whatever weapon you have and covering the arena in paint. Like, you have two ways to play this particular game. You can go out and knock out the other team, or you can just squeegee everything and just run around and make sure that it's perfect, because it has to be perfect. Everything has to be covered. It has to be covered. The roller works really well for me in this particular game, because I play it kind of like obsessively, where I make sure that every like little nook and cranny has the paint of my team's color in it. So I'm probably not the most fun person to play with in the world, but I really like it, so you should play with me, because it's a fun game. 3-minute matches mean that the games go fast and they go quick. If you get your behind rocked, you can hop out and hop right back in. You don't have to sit there and lose like a Call of Duty match where you're losing like 75-13, or a Halo match where you're losing 50-10. They're super quick. If you get on an unbalanced team, it'll be 4 minutes and you'll be into a different match, and hopefully you can get another shot at that as well. So I think the match length is great. The Splat Fests, which are events that happen every so often, you pick a team. This particular one was Donatello versus Raphael of the Ninja Turtles, and I picked the Donatello team. I wanted to pick Mikey or Leonardo, but they both got eliminated in previous weeks. It's a cool little thing. Nickelodeon's teamed up with them a bunch. They did SpongeBob versus Patrick. I think the Splatfests are fun and interesting, giving you a team to try and win for, give you a little bit of investment in the games you're playing. And also, I think it encourages people to come back and check in every once in a while to see if they can, pick a team and win. This is a great addition to any Switch player's library, and I am having a blast with it. Bit of a lighting change as the light sets on this beautiful episode of Week in Review. We have to break out the old phone for this next game, because I didn't actually write it down. I typed it down last night after I played the beta for a little bit. Onrush. This game is a bit of a mess. I know it's a beta, so I'm willing to give it the benefit of the doubt, but I think it has some issues. So let's start from the top. This is an arcade racer that is made by Codemasters, who make the Dirt series. And the Dirt series is great, except for Dirt Rally, which is like really, really difficult and I didn't get super into. But Dirt 1 is fantastic. Dirt 2 is kind of weird. 3 is great. 4 is really, really good from what I played. I didn't play a ton of it. But I like Codemasters a lot. They also did Grid and Grid 2, which are two games that people seem to like from a racing standpoint as well. This is their bread and butter racing games. This is a little bit different in the fact that it's an arcade racer. Dirt is closer to simulation. I can't really speak to Grid. I haven't played very much of it, but I can talk a little bit more about Dirt because I have played it. This is a weird game from the start because it feels like it wants to be Burnout and MotorStorm kind of mixed together. Burnout is a game that's known for fast and furious arcade racing. MotorStorm is a game that is a little bit different in the fact that it has a bunch of different cars racing all at the same time, a bunch of different sizes of cars. So it has like motorcycles and like trophy trucks and big giant mud rig things. I don't know why I'm going to jump into the car types. I don't know anything about cars yet, and here I am talking about a car game. The other part that I wasn't expecting with this particular game is the team aspect of it. This is a game that wants you to cooperate and compete. Cooperate as a team and compete with other teams. The beta itself had two modes. It had a time attack mode where you drive through green checkpoints that add to your team's time, and a point mode that didn't make a whole lot of sense. You have to boost and use your rush ability to add points to your team to win. But none of this is explained super well. It seemed too easy to fall behind with not much of an opportunity to come back, if that makes sense. Like once you were behind, that was kind of it. There were 4 vehicle classes available, and I'm going to read the notes I took off my phone. The blade was the motorcycle. It left a trail behind it that you could use to cut in front of other vehicles and wreck them. So it was pretty effective. It seemed like it controlled well. The rush ability made sense and was intuitive enough to figure out. Next up, we have the Vortex, which is a beach buggy, I think. I'm not really sure. This left a disruptive wave of turbulent air behind it. I don't really know. I'm not exactly sure what that did. I think it's supposed to be similar to the motorcycles, but it doesn't seem quite as effective. The car handled well enough. The Interceptor is the third car that was available. I'm not exactly sure what type of car this was. It might have been another, either like another buggy or like a rally car. One of the two, maybe a little bit of a mix of both. This car was useless. It sucked. You could refill your gauge, which is like your power up to unleash your rush ability, with every wreck that you got. And there are only 5 or 6 members on the opposing team, and you have to use this one really, really well to be able to use it effectively. And I wasn't able to do it, so I don't know. I thought this car was completely useless. I did not think it was a very good car at all. Finally, we have Titan, the trophy truck, which would leave, let's see, it drops a trail of blockades behind that slows down opponents. This vehicle was great. I thought the rush ability on it was really, really good and worked well and was intuitive, made sense. So handled well. I felt very effective using this particular vehicle, both racing and using the rush ability, which the same can't be said for some of the other vehicles. The game modes aren't all that great, and they can be a little bit confusing. There also is a ton going on this screen. There you have a HUD, and you have 11 other human players, and then a bunch of other CPU stuff all going at once, and it can be a little confusing and a little overwhelming at exactly what the hell is going on and where you need to go in the track. They do a pretty good job of putting up green arrows to make sure that you're getting pointed in the correct direction, but even with that, it can still be a little bit weird. In this beta, there were 4 classes available. In the full release, there are 8. The full game releases 6/5, June 5th. I don't know why I said 6/5. 2 final points: you get fast and frequent leveling, and unfortunately, the takedowns on other players don't seem super frequent or super useful. With all that being said, I still liked it. I like the idea behind it. I like Codemasters. I don't think this is going to be a day one purchase necessarily, but this might be an interesting summer game to pick up. Now that all the movies and games are done, let's unbox a controller. It's limited edition. I should move the controller while I'm doing it, but I forgot what I was doing and I bumped the mic. Here we go. We have the Hyperkin, yeah. The Hyperkin Duke controller. For those of you in the Xbox know, or in the video game know, you know that the Duke controller is the original controller for the original Xbox. And you can't say that it's the Xbox One because the current Xbox is the Xbox One. I know, what a marketing nightmare. Who thought of this? Somebody who wasn't thinking it through. Anyway, the Duke is legendary for being just way, 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 way too big. And it later got redesigned with the Xbox S controller. However, people have figured out that millennials have a lot of nostalgia and have decided to remake it, so people like me go out and buy it. Even though I never really owned an Xbox, I still remember playing Halo with these big giant behemoth controllers, and I bought this. So we'll crack it open and take a look. It also has a very cool feature right there in the middle. So it's taped, and where my knife is. Kids, don't sleep with knives in your bed. That's my tip to you. My tip to you is also always unbox with a Mountain Dew Baja Blast. Do that. It's cool. It's refreshing. Again, Mountain Dew, Taco Bell, Pepsi Bottling Co. Waiting on that sponsorship. Okay, we'll crack this open. This is our first limited edition item. A fresh dew, a fresh blast. See how good that was? Oh man, I was made for marketing. Made for marketing and buying dumb shit. We have the tape off, so we'll go ahead and do that. Slides off. It's a nice compact box. Alright, information. Very special thanks. Whatever. Ooh, comes in a foam padding. Oh, man. This is a corded, or a wired controller. Just like the original was. That's all that's in the box. Nice foam, though. You can't see that at all, because there's no light. It doesn't matter. You'll just have to trust me. And we'll peel this. Peel that off. Oh, man. That feels spot on to the original. The only difference with this particular controller, if it'll pick it up, because it is all black. Actually, let me turn this. I don't. Ooh, that's better. The only difference, I still don't know if it's going to pick it up. These bumpers, right up here, left bumper and right bumper. I pointed the wrong ones. These aren't on the original controller. The white and the black button essentially was the left and right bumper on the original Xbox controller. God, this is so awesome. You have your start and your select buttons there. That clicks in, which is totally awesome. Oh, there you go. That is pretty cool. I missed it. Oh no, I froze the computer. Nope, there it goes. So here, we'll unplug it. We'll plug it back in. So it vibrates, and then it gives you... Man, that's awesome. It gives you the original Xbox startup logo right there in the middle button, which is the home button on the Xbox One. I pre-ordered this a couple weeks ago, and I thought it came out on the 30th, and it didn't. Whatever. It was a whole cluster. I was starting to worry that this was going to be a really dumb purchase. I can't wait to use this. This is awesome. Oh, man. This is really, really cool. So, hopefully, I haven't stopped the recording. This is connected to my PC. We're still going. All right, that's good. I believe this is available only at GameStop in stores. I'm sure you can find it online. I don't know how limited of an edition this is, but I thought it was really cool, and I wanted to show it off. So, oh, man. This thing's great. I gotta stop pushing buttons. Again, it's connected to my PC. It will stop the recording. I won't know, and I'll have to re-record it. But I haven't done it yet, so I can push buttons. Keep pushing those buttons. Push. Go pick this up if you have an Xbox. If you have nostalgia for Xbox stuff. This is pretty cool. I don't know how much I'll use it, but it sounds like it would be good for the Halo Master Chief Collection and a few rounds of Halo 1. Finally here, let's go ahead and look forward to what's new this week. Solo, a Star Wars story, is out this Friday in theaters. Shout out to Donald Glover, who is #1 Lando Calrissian. 3 games of note. State of Decay 2 gets its Game Pass or standard edition release. So if you have Game Pass, check it out. I have yet to play it, so impressions will probably be next week. Detroit Become Human is out Friday on the PlayStation 4, and Stardew Valley gets released on the Vita, so if you have the PlayStation 4 version, you get the PlayStation Vita version as well. So, nice little added bonus if you have the PlayStation 4 version. Pretty big week as far as Blu-rays are concerned. We have the 1517 to Paris, which was a movie that I was kind of interested in. My mom was also interested in, so I might check that out on Blu-ray. I missed it in theaters. 2 absolutely fantastic movies from this year are out. A Fantastic Woman, technically last year's movie, but it didn't get here till March. We had this discussion at the quarter in review, whatever. It's out on Blu-ray. Go check that out. It's fantastic. Game Night is out. That movie is also really, really good. I liked it a lot. Holes gets a 15th anniversary, first time on Blu-ray edition. Hell yeah. That movie fucking rules. And then Early Man and The Matrix is out on 4K. So, pretty big week as far as movies on Blu-ray are concerned. Go check those out. That was a solid week. Holes rules. Holes is such a good movie. And weird for me to say this, good book. Thank you so much for watching. If you have questions, comments, concerns, hype trains you're on that I'm missing, comment down below. And then while you're there, subscribe. Or you can subscribe and then leave a comment. Either option is fine. And you can check back every Tuesday for the near future for more episodes more thoughts, more crazy hijinks, all that good stuff right here on the YouTube channel. Before we go today, I'd like to remember our dear friend, our friendly neighborhood lobster boy. He's no longer with us. May he rest in peace. Every night in my dreams, I see you, I feel you. That is how I know you. Go on. I miss you, Lobster Boy. Far across the distance and spaces between us. Oh, it hurts so bad. You have come to show you. Go on. You live on in my pain because it hurt. Near, far, wherever you are, I believe that the heart does go on. Should say the pain goes on, because I miss you so much. Thank you so much, Lobster Boy. We miss you and we love you. We'll see you when you return, inevitably at some point during the summer. Probably Hoop Fest, I would imagine. Someone doesn't like to wear sunscreen, and then he complains a lot. I don't know who this person is. It's Lobster Boy. Oh, my friendly neighborhood Lobster Boy. You last a lifetime. Oh, baby. We'll see you next week. Thank you. We'll see you later. Miss you, Lobster Boy.